And now, live from the 13 Now Digital News Desk, this is the Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Fever Afterburn, Week 8. Week 8, we are going downhill fast. Week 8 is in the books, and we have a lot of games to talk about, so we're going to get right into it. Starting off with the score, our game of the week, a 7-0 shutout, a defensive battle. Bay picking a big one up over South Walton. That will presumably be the district champion in that one. In the same district, we have Rutherford and North Bay Haven. Rutherford getting their first win of the year, 22-14 over the Buccaneers. Holmes County and Freeport, that seemed to be the real game of the night. A thriller over there. Holmes County goes up big. Freeport comes back and wins on their home field 38-34. Port St. Joe, they go to Bozeman and dominate 58-20.
Mariana over visiting at Gadsden County. Gadsden County gets a shutout 39-0. Walton also on the road visiting Pensacola Catholic. Pensacola Catholic picks up that win 35-6. Cottondale, they're kind of on a little streak. They pick up a win over Baconton Charter 54-14. And then Wewa Hitchka visiting Franklin County. Gators picking up a 54-13 win.
And then we got Liberty County taking on Pike Liberal Arts. That is a close one, a one-score game, 14-7. The Bulldogs get to win. Bluntstown 35-0 over Baker. A big one for the Tigers, and we're going to talk a little bit about somebody special returning to the Tigers roster this week, a key player. We'll get to that in a little bit, but Chipley, they stay undefeated, 40-0 over the Destin Sharks. And then Vernon, their first win of the year. Two of the youngest teams in the area, Vernon and Graceville, a battle up there in Jackson County. Vernon gets their first win of the year. We're going to head to Thursday night games. Tell us about those games.
Yep, last night Mosley at Tommy Oliver hosting Crestview. They pick up a win 38-26. Arnold also hosting last night. St. John Paul II picks up a win 42-19. And then Sneads remains undefeated. They go and visit Lighthouse Christian, and Sneads, the Pirates, pick up a 43-14 win.
Right, we got a lot of action to talk about. We're going to start with Bay and South Walton, but first, seeing some comments down here. Those Chipley Tigers are on fire, 7-0. That is right. They were the last team standing last year, went down and covered them in the Final Four. This year, they seem to be like they could very well be on their way back down to the Final Four. We got to, as always, go Rams. That's right. I know those Rams, they are happy. They're very, very happy for that win tonight. They, like we mentioned last week, one of the toughest schedules in the area, and this week, that hard work paying off. We'll get to that as well. But let's get into that game of the week. You were there, and there was no scores. The only score came in the second half. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a defensive battle. Not much to see. There was an interception by South Walton, in the third drive. So some big defensive action there, but just a lot of stops, and the offense is not able to execute. Couple overthrown balls on both sides, just a couple short runs, just not too much happening. But, I mean, these defenses tonight really showed off. I mean, you had some breakthroughs just like that with James, and the defenses would just step up. So I was a little shocked by the second half. It was only the final score 7-0, but, I mean, it was just a defensive battle through and through tonight.
Right, and this is, a South Walton team that, in years past have been known for their offensive firepower. This year, they've kind of hang their hats on their defense, and then tonight, I mean, clearly, a 7-0 game. That's, as far as a coach's standpoint, you can't really ask for much more. As an entertainment standpoint, we don't love this, 7-0, not a whole lot of scoring. But coaches, I know that Coach Jeremy Brown had to love this effort from his team tonight. One score, that's all you need if your defense is shutting out the other team. And like we mentioned before, you can't rule it out yet because, Bay and South Walton, they haven't played their final games with Rutherford and North Bay Haven. But you got to assume, Bay 2-0 here in their district, you got to presume that they'll most likely be the district champions there. So a big one for the Tornadoes. They were ranked 7th in their class this week. Another strong win here. They might move up just a little bit more. This one is going to be big come playoff time for those Tornadoes. They're going to get an automatic bid if they win their district, if they hold it out, an automatic bid, and then a win like that, they're going to move up the rankings. But I see. Thank you for your hard coverage. Yes, Hillary, we do our best out here. Mr. Brock, yes, Jordan Pride, that is the name, Jordan Pride. That is, if you're familiar with last year's Bluntstown Tigers, that is a name you heard a lot. Jordan Pride is a junior this year. He is has about offers from just about every school in the country,
Yeah.
every major Division I school in the country. Transferred down to IMG Academy, that is for Bluntstown. Once again, transferred to IMG Academy, and now he is back up in the Panhandle with the Tigers. We'll have to check in with them this week and see how all of that's going. But again, 35-0 for Bluntstown. We'll get to that a little more in a bit. Yes, the Rams picking up their first win of the night. Go Rams. But we're going to move over to Tommy Oliver and talk about those Rams. 22-14, a tough game over there. Like I mentioned, it started out all North Bay Haven. North Bay Haven, and let me tell you right now, for anybody who has not seen that young man right there, Quante Spencer, play, number 3 for North Bay Haven, I will tell you, he is incredible. He is somebody that has a very bright future ahead of him. You know, against Bay, they were giving him the ball and he was doing everything, and he got hurt and it kind of helped them, took them back a bit. But Quante Spencer, remember that name because he is a very special player. North Bay Haven, it was all North Bay Haven to start. This was a great passing catch here, but this one going to get called back. You'll see why, as you know, most people put the first down marker. He threw the ball as well. The ref didn't like that. But this is the play that really changed the momentum. The pick six here, and this one going all the way to the house. I was over on the sidelines. Coach Tillman was saying, hey, I need somebody to make a play. I need somebody to make a play. Went out, made a big play there. He was very excited about that one. And then they take an 8-6 lead. So this one back and forth. We had multiple lead changes in the first half. Then you see the fumble here. Everything kind of started to trending the Rams' direction. Multiple turnovers. Roman Holmes also had an interception later in the first half. But this one, again, they take a 16-7 lead. And then after that, the Buccaneers are going to tie it or get it within 2 before the half. This one going back and forth, and then the Rams, they score with just a minute to go, 22-14 to kind of seal the deal. Rutherford, they've been grinding out this year. What do you think of Rutherford getting their first win? I know you saw them last week.
Yeah, I think it was definitely well deserved. I mean, they had a close game against Arnold last week, and you know, this was an exciting. This game's interesting to see because I feel like North Bay Haven really showed out and had a lot of talent, but I think Rutherford was able to just kind of inch forward and get that win. But definitely a deserving team. I know they've been wanting to get a win, and they've been close a couple times, so good for them.
Yeah, very excited for Coach Tillman and the gang. You know, it's always tough to, you know, kind of get past that first win. Once you get that, you know, winning feels good. Doesn't matter, you know, if you have one or if, you know, you're 7-0 like some of the other teams in the area. Winning feels good.
Yeah.
I know they're very excited tonight. We're going to move on to Freeport and Holmes County. This one, you know, Thomas was up at this one. It was all Holmes County to start, and then Freeport came away with a win. What do you think of this one? This one's really going to have some playoff implication in a few weeks from now.
Well, I mean, Freeport with those comebacks, they've had a couple comebacks in the second half this season, and it's just, I mean, that's really great for the Bulldogs. I mean, looking at the first half highlights, it was Holmes County, Holmes County, Holmes County. I mean, extending their lead every opportunity. But, I mean, Freeport came back and did it again. I mean, it looked like a very interesting game. Would have been a fun one to be at, just the back and forth. And, you know, both these teams are very hardworking, deserving teams, and I know both of them wanted it. But, you know, Freeport just able to come out and wanted it a little bit more.
Right. You mentioned hardworking. These both teams, I think their coaches, Jeff Lee and Sean Arns, would probably describe this crew as, you know, very blue-collar athletes. You know, you go to Freeport, you go to Holmes County, you're not really going to see, you know, those massive players, you know, that you see on some other teams. You're not going to, you know, they got some big boys over there, but, you know, from top to bottom, their roster is never going to be, you know, much larger than their opponents. They're pretty evenly matched, these two, but, you know, Freeport getting the job done tonight. Again, I know this one in a couple weeks will really help when it comes to deciding those playoff brackets. But staying with 1A teams who are really moving their way up the rankings, we're going to talk about Port St. Joe.
Yeah.
Port St. Joe has now won 5 in a row. They've picked up some very quality wins. So
Yeah.
what do you think of this one tonight over with Bozeman?
Well, this is just another team with just so much talent, and especially to have DJ Oliver, who was back a little bit last week against Vernon, and now kind of fully back, and you can see just 2 big runs from him. So obviously that's going to be a huge help to the Sharks having someone like DJ Oliver back. I mean, Coach Jones said he has having DJ Oliver as one of his star players. He's one of the most talented running backs he's ever worked with. And so it's just exciting to see him come out. And I think this team is really starting to kind of mesh together. And I mean, they proved it tonight with that big win, 58 points. So
right. And
exciting for them.
Bozeman, they have a lot of playmakers. We saw that first one at the beginning, Kevin Gibbons having a very strong touchdown to start the game. We saw at the end of the first quarter it was 7-6, and we're like, okay,
Yeah,
Bozeman,
surprising.
Bozeman on top, and then later in the game we saw, okay, Port St. Joe's starting to pull away. We're like, all right, Bozeman putting up a strong start, but again, there's not much else to say when you throw the name DJ Oliver out there. Last week kind of had his return from injury against Vernon. He's looking. I said on Twitter this week, I was like, okay, on offense, everybody always says he looks like a Derrick Henry on offense, and a lot like his uncle, LeGarrette Blount, as well as a running back. But then on defense, that's where I really think he makes the biggest difference. You put him out there, and I see similarities to Devin White. Those ball hawk type linebackers that you see in the NFL. He is all over the ball. Anytime he's on defense, he's going to be going straight after the ball, whoever has it. And it's hard to get past a guy his size that can run at speeds probably faster than any other players on the field. But yes, Bozeman putting forth a strong effort, but it's tough to take down a guy like DJ Oliver.
Yeah.
But Bozeman now in a difficult position, moving towards the end of the season. They're going to really have to put forth a strong effort as they go into the rest of this season. But I will say, Port St. Joe, that's 5 in a row, a very big one for them. We're going to look at some of the comments. We got Go Vernon Yellow Jackets. That's right, Vernon picking up a big win tonight. Their first of the season. Coach Chad Weeks getting his first win as a head coach, and I know that one probably meaning a lot to that gang. I know they've been playing their hearts out this year for Coach Trey Pike, who passed away at the beginning of the season. So a big shout out to the Vernon Yellow Jackets. I know they're very excited about that one. Josh Pope coming back from injury, having a great game. Bluntstown, like we mentioned, 35-0, a win for the Tigers over Baker. Those are two of the, more storied programs. That's a word I always throw out there, and you're like, you always say storied, but yes, Bluntstown and Baker, two of the strongest, most storied 1A, 1R programs in the area. I know that one has to feel good, especially after losing a couple of games in recent weeks. But Josh Pope, senior quarterback, coming back, having a big performance tonight, 35-0 over Baker. Very surprised that Freeport won. Holmes County is very good. I would have to agree, especially when you get in a hole like that. It's hard to make a comeback. So, that crew, Ashton Nunes, he's a dog. He's somebody that can really get things going. And Robbie Durgan, those guys, they are just so good. Which 1R team from our area do you think has the best chance to play for a state championship? PSJ, Chipley, Sneeds? What do you think?
That's a tough one because I think Port St. Joe's really starting to prove themselves with these last couple of games. They've had some big wins in the past couple of weeks, but then you have Chipley and Sneeds undefeated. I know strength of schedule for Sneeds and Chipley. They don't have the toughest schedule. So, I'm just really excited about Sneeds this year, I think. I mean, I loved covering Chipley. I was there 2 weeks in a row earlier in the season. They're a fun team to watch for sure. Port St. Joe, obviously, a bunch of key players there, but I don't know. The Pirates are kind of like a little sneaky team to me, and I like seeing them just kind of with that explosive offense.
Right, and when we saw them take that loss to Bay a few weeks back, I say, it's been 6 games ago, 5-6 games ago now. It's been a while, but we were like, this game might have been a little different without the injury, but now they seem to be healthy. They seem to be going. Of course, Oliver's the leader there. They definitely have a strong case. Chipley, like you mentioned, Chipley and Sneeds, they've seemed perfect so far, but
Yeah.
we really haven't seen a team that has really, really put them to the test. We saw Chipley had McClay, and that one was a little tougher because they're a larger school. We see, again, I see in the comments, Bozeman and Chipley will play next week. That one might have a little more tell for Chipley because Bozeman is a good team. We saw Port St. Joe roll tonight, but Bozeman is a good team. They have some good players, and we'll really kind of get to see a little bit of a stronger matchup for Chipley. And if they roll to that one, they're probably going to have a pretty good case as one of the best teams, if not the best 1R team from our area. And of course, you can't forget Jason Patterson out there at Sneeds. Saw another 300-yard performance for him, so he is still leading the way in the state of the Florida. It's pretty tough to do.
As a junior, too.
Very tough to do, to lead all the way through the season. He is having himself a year, and like we mentioned with, Jordan Pride, DJ Oliver, these guys that, get all these offers, he is going to have everybody knocking, this off season, coming to, say, hey, come play for us. I believe SEC schools, ACC schools, I think everybody's going to be on board that Jason Patterson train. I didn't really answer if you guys didn't catch up on that. I'm not really one to take sides, but I would love to see all of them go on a deep run. But Sneeds, from what I've seen so far, looks to be the strongest crew, but we'll see how that plays out in the upcoming weeks. See, my prediction was right. Weewalk, they got this week's game.
Big win, too.
Yes, a big win for Weewa. They had themselves a week, and they've had some struggles in recent weeks, so that is big for them to get a 54 points on the board. They've had some injuries, and now I know they're excited about that. We got to go Chipley. Yes, the Tigers staying undefeated. They're just about as good as anybody around here. Got go Sneeds Pirates. Same goes for them. I would love to see those two head-to-head, Sneeds and Chipley. Maybe we'll get that in the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see. Northview isn't in our area, but watch out for them in 1R. I would 100% agree. Have not seen Chiefland this year, but have seen Northview and what they did to Bluntstown, and that was pretty scary. They got some big guys, some big athletes over there on Northview. And one matchup I did say is circle your calendars. The last regular season game for Bay High is in Bratt at Northview, so that will be a incredible game to look out for. But yes, Sneeds has Patterson, number 1 in the state for yards. That is right. He is incredible. Go Chipley Tigers. What other games have we not looked at tonight? Mariana having a rough go tonight in Gadsden County. Not a whole lot of action as far as highlights go there, so we'll not get into that. But Mariana having a rough go with a very talented Gadsden County team, and then Walton, a tough one over there in Pensacola Catholic. That a district game. They got a really tough district. We talked about that. Cottondale, a big one tonight.
Good for them.
What were kind of some of your biggest takeaways from tonight, looking at the scoreboard?
I mean, Cottondale's really looking impressive these past couple of weeks. I think they're really finding a groove and a system that works for them, and they're able to execute on that. Good for Vernon picking up their first one this season. Chipley, kind of an expected turnout over Destin, that new football team. But, I mean, I think going back to even the Freeport-Holmes County game, that was just, very impressive for Freeport to be able to pull that off in the second half of the game over Holmes County, because I know they are a very, very strong team and, big up front and everything. So be able to pull that off in the second half.
Right. And you mentioned Cottondale. We saw they had 3 players with two scores or more tonight. And then Cameron Odom, their quarterback, with over 200 yards. So
and he's new in that position too.
Right, new in the position and only a sophomore. So he's got a lot of time ahead of him. A big win tonight, and that is Baconton Charter. All week long I've been like Baconton. I don't know, but it's Baconton, just like, spelled like bacon, Baconton, not Bacon Town, Baconton. So Cottondale, they get a big win tonight. We did have a couple of Thursday night games that we'll talk a little bit about. We're going to talk about Mosley. They had a big bounce back, and they needed it. I talked to Coach Whitten this week, and he said they're kind of in must-win mode, and they got it done. So, they had to win. Obviously, this is a beautiful play from Randy Pittman. If you haven't seen it yet, just
UCF
trucking those
commit.
defenders. But what do you think of Mosley coming back this week and getting that must-win game over the Bulldogs?
I mean, I agree. I think it was definitely a must-win game, and it's good to see. I was there a little bit ago, but seeing Randy Pittman kind of have those big plays, especially coming off committing to UCF, so it's exciting to see him kind of get his time to shine. But definitely needed by Mosley, and not surprised to see them bounce back because they definitely have the capabilities. Just have to kind of have everything groove together to make it happen. But looked pretty good.
Right, and Mosley, they're going to get the week off before getting what will probably be their toughest game of the season, visiting Niceville 2 weeks from now. So they're going to have to get a lot of rest, game plan a bit, because that one really could be the difference in their season, a make or break game.
Gritty.
If you pull out the win over Niceville, you're putting yourself in great position, but that'll be a really tough one. But like we mentioned, Sammy Freitas, a very talented quarterback, doing a lot of good things over there as a sophomore. And that gang, they're putting themselves right on the border of making a run, a late push.
Because they have plenty of talent, for sure.
Plenty of talent. I see a comment asking about Bluntstown. We've talked about the Tigers a little bit already. They got a 35-0 win over Baker tonight. Josh Pope returning from injury. He is back in the quarterback position, and we had Jordan Pride returning to the Tigers from IMG Academy. So a lot going on in Bluntstown, a lot to be happy about.
Definitely a team to keep your eyes on for the next couple weeks.
Right. That is another one where last year they were right at the top. Everybody was like, oh, they're the favorites. They're the favorites to win state. They were number one in the state at the end of the year. A couple games didn't go their way. They ran into Madison County, the juggernauts of 1A last year. But, like you mentioned, I would definitely say watch out for Bluntstown because if they're getting healthy and if they're getting their players back and they're getting all the right pieces, they've lost a couple of games, but they are always one of the better 1R teams.
And Josh Pope is that kind of player that wants it. I mean, he will do anything for it. He's so dedicated to the game and just loves being out there. So not going to be surprised to see big things from him coming forward.
Right, 100% agree. Well, before we go, do we have next week's games? We're going to take a look at next week because we got some interesting matchups. We got Bay at Fort Walton Beach, Port St. Joe at South Walton. That one is always an interesting game. South Walton, they're really going to need this one. Port St. Joe is streaking. That one will be in Santa Rosa Beach, so really watch out for Port St. Joe at South Walton. Vernon will be at North Bay Haven. Arnold will play a district game against Lincoln. Franklin County will be at Sneeds, and then Baker at Freeport.
Graceville versus Jay. Then you have Cottondale versus Patulo Charter Academy. Liberty County versus Holmes County. That should be a good one. Chipley and Bozeman. Bluntstown versus Walton. And Northview at Mariana.
And then we got a couple teams that'll have the week off. We already mentioned Mosley. They're going to have the week off. Rutherford coming off their first win of the season. They get a nice little break. Wee-Wee-Hitchcock, those teams, they've been playing nonstop since the start of the year. They're going to be really happy for this week 9 break. I got a comment, watch out for Madison County. Don't be fooled by their record. That's right. Madison County, much like Bluntstown, a team that you can never count out. They always have the talent. They always have the players. They always have about 9, 10 running backs, athletes all over the field that can really make things happen. But we had a lot going on tonight. We have a lot of big games next week. The one that really stood out to me was Walton and Bluntstown. We've mentioned Bluntstown a little bit. Walton and Bluntstown. Watch out for that one. We've decided by verdict of everybody here at the station that I don't get to pick the game of the week anymore because it seems to be that none of the action happens in those games. So if you want to, shout us out, hit us up on Twitter, comment on Facebook, comment on this. Let us know where you want the game of the week next week. Let us know. Go to our Fan Zone page on Facebook, Friday Night Fever Afterburn Fan Zone. You can go in there. Let us know where you want to see the game of the week because clearly I do not seem to have the best decision making when it comes to choosing that action. But that's a good idea. We might put out a poll. Let us know. You decide where you want to see the game of the week. We'll tell you right now, we do not travel to teams outside of our area, so don't ask us to go to Tallahassee or Pensacola. It's not happening. I'm sorry. But anyway, week 8, we are headed towards the playoffs.
Crazy.
It's coming. Playoffs are coming soon. before you know it, we will be wrapping up the regular season. Before we go, anything else that you want to mention from tonight? Any
No.
other teams? Shout outs?
I think we got it covered.
Couple teams left undefeated. A lot of teams really pushing for the playoffs, but we'll have to see how things go as we move into week 9 next week. Got a lot of games that could really make or break some teams, but we'll have to stay tuned to next week. Until then, we'll see you then.